and so Aerys turned sour that night. He's mine now, not Tywin's, and he'll serve as I see fit.
Fala Morgulis! Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Brotherhood Without Manners, your favorite full spoiler reread podcast of George R.R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire series, reading A Storm of Swords.
I'm Nate, interrupting Zach
motherfucker.
on his brand new intro. Hey guy, nice
Yo.
intro.
I'm Zach, the guy with the tooth pain here, so if I have any reason to suddenly cut out during a sentence, forgive me this episode, but it's been a hot minute.
It's been a little bit.
Since we've been here.
It's a new year.
It's a new year.
It's a new year.
The holidays hit us hard. Our households, as I assist Nate with the kiddos in getting them to school. So our households were hit with about a sickness right around the time of the new year. And to just make sure we were safe, we were all isolating and taking precautions. And thus, Nate and I were not able to gather as much and record like we wanted to. But we've worked it out. We've got a schedule. We're ready to start getting content back out to you lovely, lovely listeners who have still been killing it for us as far as...
And new listeners.
From
all over the world.
And we just appreciate the hell out of you guys.
Sticking with us.
Where we are here in Southern California, things are still tense as far as COVID is concerned. And
Like everywhere in the world.
Right, like everywhere. And so we're just, trying to be as safe as we can. But we're here today to discuss some Jaime.
Fuck yeah.
And move forward with this Storm of Swords, because we ain't done.
We ain't
Baby
done.
birds.
Yeah, we got so much left to go through.
We got 2.5 books left of this, and then
we have the best book coming up.
Let's just chill. So, last episode, we had a guest.
We had a wonderful guest.
It was Chloe from Girls Gone Canon, and we had our Superman Spreader Arya 8 event.
Yeah.
And it was a great chapter where Arya met and discussed some things with Edric Dane and Gendry, and then eventually ended up falling into the hands of the Hound, Sandor Clegane.
Whoopsie.
And it was just a great time. We loved, of course, having Chloe. And
it was so much fun.
Based on everything we've seen, you guys really seem to enjoy it as well. So show some love to Chloe, because we're forever grateful for that. But this episode, we're reading Jaime 6.
Jaime 6.
And last we had left Jaime had arrived at Harrenhal after losing his hand, and was in...
So let's rephrase that from now on, because, he didn't lose the hand. It was just removed from him.
After having his hand removed, he arrived at Harrenhal into Roose Bolton's care, who was immediately disgusted by the way Jaime had been treated, and sent him to the bath, which we got the famous bathhouse scene with Brienne and Jaime, where Jaime reveals events as they were under the rule of Sir Aerys Targaryen, and then passed out. And then Brienne and Jaime had a terrifying dinner with Roose Bolton and his squire Oliver Frey.
Where they, and I'd like to point out this for the next chapter and episode we'll be doing, but we learned that Roose Bolton was the one who sent the Glovers down to Duskendale.
Yeah,
Fucking Duskendale.
Fucking Duskendale.
So it's a big clue as to what Martin is setting up.
Yeah, Roose was playing the game the entire time. Jaime took some time.
We didn't even mention that we're full spoilers, so Red Wedding's happening, and everybody's going to die. So
yeah, new year, new us. Like, fucking new Jaime chapter. Who dis? Yeah, Oliver Frey was in attendance. Roose was playing the game, and Jaime picked up on that a little bit into dinner and looked at Brienne, wondering if she realized what was happening at this dinner, and thought of her as just such an innocent. But they were told that they're under his care, and that Brienne though, she isn't. She's just a nobody to. She's Selwyn Tarth's daughter is about the only important thing about Brienne, and Roose Bolton, and I'm doing quotations here, serves the king in the north, not his mother, and therefore will be returning Jaime as such, and Brienne is basically accused of treason. So, Jaime 6, A Storm of Swords. Qyburn has declared that Jaime's arm is no longer a danger, which is good, because Jaime is anxious as shit to put Harrenhal, the Bloody Mummers, Vargo Hoat, And Brienne of Tarth all behind him.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
Yeah, he's fucking done.
This
with
place
it here.
sucks. I'm out. Suck my dick.
I just want to go home.
I still have it.
He just wants to go home.
I want to see Cersei.
He just wants to go home.
I want to see Cersei. All right. Qyburn is going to be accompanying Jaime as he's hoping that Tywin will restore his chain. I so much enjoy just Qyburn just creeping around these chapters, man.
Just making his way through.
Worming his way in, yeah.
So they're going to be led by Steelshanks Walton. He's
Walton.
going to lead a little envoy down to
Yeah,
King's Landing. And
Jaime sizes him up almost immediately. And lots of people have. We won't be the first, but we're going to do it a lot. Compare Jaime a lot to Tyrion in this chapter, and I think this is one of the first examples where Jaime notes, based on his own experience, he served with people like Walton before, Steelshanks. They would kill, rape, and plunder when the war was going on, but when it was done, they'd then go home, tend their fields, raise children with their fat wives, and they obeyed, but they weren't cruel like the Bloody Mummers are. And so he's already got, he thinks, the measure of Steelshanks, which is important for...
And it's kind of, what the fuck is his name now? I just lost it. The leader, the one that Tyrion appointed as head of the...
Bywater?
Yeah, yes.
Jacelyn Bywater?
Jacelyn Bywater.
Yeah.
He's very much that. He's stout. He's going to listen to his
Lord.
command,
Yep.
and as long as it's very Stannis-esque, and he's going to follow the command of his...
Yeah,
and so,
absolutely.
yeah, Steelshanks Walton's definitely... that for him.
Right, he'll kill, he'll rape, he'll plunder, he'll do whatever his lord tells him to do, but then he'll go and raise a crop, raise some kids. Two parties were leaving Harrenhal that same morning. Roose Bolton had meant to follow Sir Aenys Frey, who had marched 3 days before, northeast towards the King's Road. And Roose asks if Jaime will be sure to give his warm regards to his father. And Jaime says, so long as you give mine to Robb Stark. And Roose says that I shall. So, this is that some things, some words are like an arrow that once loosed can't be recalled back.
Right.
And I don't think Jaime's quite with it enough to understand. He doesn't understand what's going to be happening to Robb Stark.
To this extent, no.
And so Jaime doesn't quite know that these are the last words that Robb Stark will be hearing before the knife plunges into his heart. But it's just so impactful that we get the line delivered before the line gets delivered. And it just makes Roose Bolton seem all the more fucking deadly that he's the deliverer of this arrow that Jaime Lannister loosed from Harrenhal, and he's going to carry it. We just got told the route he's taken, 3 days march northeast to the King's Road, and then from there to the fucking Twins. And so it's just
love and marriage, love and... He's going to the wedding, man.
Jaime goes over to just talk some straight shit to the brave companions, Zolo, Pig, Timon, Shagwell, and Rorge, which Shagwell, Rorge, they are also... from Arya's chapters, she had some fun time with.
She freed them. She saved them.
And Rorge basically tells Jaime to bugger off, and fuck her off, you cripple. But Jaime does, but not before reminding them, of course, that Lannisters always pay their debts. And Zolo, just to be reminded, is the one who actually did the deed on Jaime's hand. So Jaime's not forgetting that anytime soon.
It's kind of funny that he's making his own little list here while those two
are already on
Arya's, yeah. So he finds out that Steelshanks has no intention of taking the King's Road. We're cutting through the wilderness. He realizes the danger of traveling with Jaime Lannister is really what it is, and I'm sure was instructed by Roose Bolton to stay off the King's Road. Mm-hmm. Make sure you get down there.
So Jaime makes note here that he's dressed as a knight, but almost feels anything but with his stump. And then we get some little details here about the shield that he takes, which bore House Lalston's sigil, which House Lalston is a pretty fucked up house that was rumored to be dabbling in some dark blood magic and fucking sacrificing kids, dark shit, really dark shit. But also there's the shield swapping with sigils is a direct call to Dunk. Dunk the Lunk.
Jaime sacrificed a kid.
Jaime,
He
yeah.
eated him off a tower.
He eats him off a tower. And there's a lot of parallels between Jaime and Bran in this chapter as well, which is irony. But this here, the shield switching and bearing a different sigil of a different house, is very reminiscent of Dunk the Lunk, who had to have a shield repainted because you can't bear the arms of another house. But Jaime notes that he would be no one's cousin, no one's enemy. In short, no one. Which, lol, you just said someone's making a list with 2 of the names that Jaime plans to pay back, and here he is thinking that he'll be no one on the road, which is something Arya has already been achieving. She's been no one for...
She's taken on how many different personalities
for 2 books now at this point. And yeah, they took leave of Roose and his host 6 miles from Harrenhal. And yeah, Jaime is just anxious to get back to his sister, and he thinks if they're quick, he might even be able to arrive in time for Joffrey's wedding. Which, yeah, he would have if he hadn't stopped to turn around. But it's interesting, because would it have been any different if Jaime was there?
Nothing would have changed.
I don't think, yeah.
I don't think he would have... What could he have done? Been his wine tester?
Yeah.
That's the only thing that could have stopped that.
But yeah, Steelshanks is like, no trouble. Well, I was ordered to see Jaime safely to his father. That's what I mean to do. And this is where Jaime starts to realize that he's been this way before.
I love this. Him reminiscing on these, especially from when he's reminiscing.
Yeah.
The day after he was knighted for the Kingsguard, and at that same fucking tournament, the most famous tournament in the history of Westeros.
Yep. King Aerys had made a great show of it, and when Sir Gerald Hightower had raised him up and put the white cloak about his shoulders, a roar went up that Jaime could still remember to this day. And I think that's great, because that's the high. That's the only good memory Jaime has of being in the Kingsguard. And that's
knighting.
What I think is so vital about this chapter. Jaime is the exact same fucking thing as Sandor Clegane, sorry. In that the Kingsguard doesn't mean for him what it means for everyone else that's in it. Being a knight doesn't mean the same because it was a tool. It was a tool for Cersei to get him closer so that they could stay fucking. And then she got yeeted back to Casterly Rock anyway. And it was a tool for Aerys to fuck Tywin. Jaime he was a pawn in it. And so everyone giving him shit that he broke his vows, this was all bullshit to him anyway.
It's an arranged marriage.
It's an arranged marriage that he wanted nothing to fucking do with. And so, I think this is just so vital in painting his sort of disillusionment with the Kingsguard as a whole, that it never meant to him the same thing it did to Gerald Hightower or Barristan the Bold, because how could it when he was just literally appointed to fuck his household over? It wasn't because
he was talented. But
it was to take that talent away from the house that he was from. And of course that's going to sour any 16-year-old who actually is gifted and has something to offer the world other than just their household name. And it's brilliant. It's great.
And so Aerys turned sour that night. He's mine now, not Tywin's, and he'll serve as I see fit.
That's a real good Mad King, dude.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Damn. Aerys had said that Jaime would win no gold and no glory at Lord Went's tourney. And he sends him back to guard the Queen and Prince Viserys. And even now, the thought was bitter to Jaime. And there you go. There's the bit. That's his resentment that he can't get over, is the fact that he was just used. All of his potential, all of the things he wanted didn't matter because of the Game of Thrones.
So it's fun, once again, to think of the parallels between all the characters, and thinking of Ned, who he was rumored to be one of the greatest swordsmen because he defeated one of the greatest swordsmen. And if it's true, right. If that turns out similar to the show, and how it potentially very well could, he didn't get his legendary status based on skill. It was just this rumor. And Jaime didn't get anywhere based on just his skill, as talented as he is. He's probably just as talented as Loras. You know, we see him out tearing shit up on the battlegrounds. But it doesn't mean he should have been appointed as a Kingsguard yet. You know, we're older, more veteran.
Well, right. I mean, there's something to be said for what the fuck are you doing making a 16-year-old in charge, right. Being tasked with guarding a king with his life like that. No, you shouldn't be doing that anyway. But yeah, and Jaime never gets a chance to prove it now because his hand is gone.
Right.
Like he couldn't serve a good order and do good to fix this now because he's lost his ability to fight.
But I digress. I say he can only now serve as the proper Lord Commander.
Qyburn falls in beside Jaime, asking him if his hand is troubling him, and Jaime says it's the lack of his hand that is troubling him, which is very Tyrion. And it says in his dreams, Jaime was a whole man, and then he would wake and realize all over again that his stump was gone, which it's very Bran. Bran was having dreams about walking around and riding and having fun, and then he'd wake up and realize he was broken again, which, this some may say, and I think you're right, that Jaime deserves this sort of suffering, this guilt that is hitting him.
Similar to what Theon is experiencing, his comeuppance.
And then Qyburn asks if Jaime enjoyed the visitor he had last night, and says Pia is quite skilled and very willing. And it's twice as horrifying coming from Qyburn.
Right.
Especially knowing what he does in dance, having women given to him by fucking Cersei to do God knows what with down in the fucking creepiness of Red Keep. But, also knowing what happens to Pia here, because Pia's going to be quite violated by the bloody mummers at Harrenhal. Yeah. The next time she is seen, her face will be all smashed up, her teeth will be fucked up, it's pretty sad what happens to Pia here, and Jaime recalls that she had slipped into his room and in his bed before he knew what was going on, and then was basically saying that she recalled seeing him at Lord Wen's tourney when he was young, and so was she. But Jaime didn't really want anything to do with her and had sent her away, which had been hard for him to do, but he did. And
where the one place he truly stays loyal.
Yeah. Vargo, we learned, had been sending girls to Qyburn for examination, which I think is sort of a direct nod to what will be occurring in the Red Keep.
And that's what I was going to say. Do you think that was a Vargo Hoat directive? Or do you think that's a Qyburn made it a Vargo Hoat directive to have all women send, per Vargo Hoat, send all women to me for inspection?
I could see Vargo trying to maybe win a little bit more favor back, but I could also just see it being Qyburn trying to solidify that in with the Lannisters, and I don't really think it matters. But Qyburn also then notes that Pia is quite healthy, as is Brienne, and this is where Jaime gets interested, because he's like, you looked at her because of the ransom? Does her father require proof that she is still a maiden? And Qyburn's like, oh, no. Lord Selwyn offered 300 dragons for his daughter's return, but Vargo doesn't believe him that there's no sapphires on Tarth. And he's like, yeah, he thinks the Evenstar's just trying to cheat him out of some decent
some extra money.
Yeah. And Jaime's annoyed by this news, thinking that the lie had spared her for a while. Brienne's tough, though, if she struggles. And then he's like, why should I give a fuck anyway? It's her fault that I lost my hand. If she had just given me Cleos' sword. And there's that defense mechanism of Jaime that, nope, I'm mad at her. I don't at all feel anything for Brienne.
And so he decides, fuck you, Qyburn, and just leaves.
Let's go talk to Steelshanks.
Let's talk to Steelshanks, man. And so, he goes and starts chit-chatting up there where...
Well, on the way up, he wonders how much his worth is to his father now. He begins to wonder what, Lord Selwyn gave 300 gold dragons for his daughter, which is a decent ransom. That's a great ransom for a noble lady. And Jaime's like, how much would Tywin give for me now, knowing that I lost my stump? And He thinks Tywin now has a dwarf and a cripple for a son, and he's gonna fucking hate that. But that's also similar to Arya, who wonders her worth. Will Robb and Catelyn want me back? Will they even want me now that I've killed someone that I'm gross? But yeah, they stopped to. Did you have something with Steelshanks?
No, you're good. I'm just.
They stopped to water the horses at a burned village.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I thought you were.
No, yeah.
Yeah, so he starts talking about Tywin's father, and Tywin's father, Lord Tytos, being a gentler sort of lion. But that was basically it. I just like that it's kind of one of the few times we've heard about Tytos at all, and it's coming from Steelshanks, just that general standard guy.
Gentler sort
of lion.
A pussy, says Tywin.
So how did he raise Tywin to be? Is that just Tywin inherently born to? He comes popping out. He's like, for the family name.
I mean, yeah, like he grew up seeing other lords being treated with respect. And then his own father being laughed at by men in his cups. And then the whore thing where she's taken his mother's jewels. And yeah, no, I mean, I think Tywin was just not raised quite right. And it fucked with him developmentally. Yeah. And he's got some repressed shit. And he obviously has some repressed shit with whores and sexual acts in the bedroom. And whether or not that's something to be publicized or displayed, or he's got some serious shame over sexuality, and it's something that's obviously blatantly why he can't look at his own children and deal with their sexual acts. Jaime and Cersei, Tyrion's proclivity for whores, that's all linked back to Tywin. Like, it's not just fucking an anomaly that rose in these children out of fucking nowhere. It is learned behavior. Like, fuck Tywin, he's a monster. But
yeah,
they stopped to water the horses at a burned village. Jaime recalls that he's been here as well. The innkeep had refused his coin, saying it was an honor to serve a Kingsguard. And Jaime wonders if that man still tells the story now, or was he ashamed now that he served the Kingslayer? And Steelshanks wants to camp here, but Jaime's like, nah. I don't like it. So they move on.
I don't like it.
And later they make camp. Jaime rests his bedroll against a stump. Lol, 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 lol. And... Oh, that's...
You flipping too soon?
That's my last page. He's thinking about Brienne.
Yeah.
As he falls asleep.
Right.
Naked. And then we get into the dream territory. The big bit. Sort of the big bit. I like the end better. But the big bit of the chapter... Naked and alone, surrounded by enemies, and stone walls pressing in around him. The rock, he knew. He has his hand again. He is whole. Flexing his fingers is as good as sex, as good as swordplay. So, we'll break that down first. Naked and alone, vulnerable. The most vulnerable you can be. Surrounded by enemies, sure. That's very reminiscent of his current scenario.
I mean, it's just been his scenario for, a year and a half,
the last
2 years
3
now.
books, right.
So.
And stone walls pressing in, suffocation, sure. The rock, he knows, but the weight of his family responsibility, I'd say, and what's expected of him, he has his hand, of course he does.
He's whole in his dream, yeah.
And flexing his fingers is as good as sex, as good as swordplay. So we know that for Jaime, sex equals swordplay in matters of feeling good, which is why a lot of people say that Brienne and Jaime's sword fight in the river, while as sexual as the language is, Jaime is straight up... It's almost them having sex in the river there when they're fighting.
It's a very intimate thing that they did.
And Jaime equates it to such, that it's that intimate, it's that good feeling for him. It gets him those same endorphin rushes. There are tall figures with hidden faces and spears that stand around them. And he demands to know their business here, but they give no answer, only to prod him to descend down the narrow stairs, though he knows he should be going up. Only doom awaits him below. Something dark and terrible lurked down there. Something that wanted him. He thinks if only he had a sword, nothing could hurt him. So This makes me harken back to a young Jon Snow.
Okay.
Who dreams of going into Winterfell's crypt
Yeah.
and knowing that he should not be doing
Don't go
such.
down-
When
don't
he's
go down
running
here.
around Winterfell shouting for people, where is everybody? Where are you? He knows he has to go down into the crypt, but he doesn't want to. It's almost the reverse of that. Like, Jaime knows he should be going up, but instead he's being told to go down. And I don't really know, like, that it's anything more than that, of just the descent down into madness, or, the ascension up into, if you head down darker and deeper and further.
Well, and that's I think a big
into
part
this
of the metaphor
Kingslayer
is
moniker.
that you're just always forced down into this monster role that you're embodied by,
Right.
and you want to go that way. You want to be the honorable knight. You want to fulfill these, what you're supposed to uphold and what the image that you wish you were. But when you were 16, that was ruined for you. So
He
you were
enters a
kinda-
vast space, teetering on the edge of nothing. See, to me, this feels like almost reminiscent, just a more emotional interpretation of him at 16, being in puberty. He's about to enter manhood, a vast space, teetering on the edge of nothing, and then the spear point shoves him into the abyss, and it's a short fall, because it's a real short fall for Jaime to go from Kingsguard to Kingslayer. And I just really do think it's a metaphor for that, of that was Jaime. He was at the brink of a vast space, his whole life ahead of him. Who is he going to become? And he fucking killed it at Lord Went's tourney, and the crowd roared for him in so loud that it's something he can still vividly recall today, just as vividly as he can recall the bitterness of Aerys then telling him, "You'll win no glory here. Go the fuck to the Red Keep." And so it's a short fall. He lands on soft sand in shallow waters and thinks, what is this place?
Your place, and it's in the voices of all the Lannisters.
The Lannisters. Tywin, Cersei, and Joffrey appear among countless others. So we get these three, but I think what's more important is the one who's missing.
Tyrion?
Tyrion?
Yeah.
And their mother.
Jenna.
Tyrion and
Gemma.
Joanna
Joanna. That's
are
the one.
not down here. Or Gemma isn't noticed, but Tyrion and Joanna are not down here in this darkness. And so I think that's pretty, which is interesting because George himself has said that Tyrion is a villain.
Right.
And so if this, in the metaphor that I'm thinking, this is Tywin and Cersei and potentially Jaime's darkness. This is where this path leads. It's us against everything, and we will kill anyone who gets in our way because we need the power, and we will hold the power. Versus maybe Tyrion, maybe Joanna's way of being a little more open to, oh, hey, there's an army of the dead coming. We might need to help and aid.
Right.
And I just think it's interesting that it's Cersei, Tywin, and Joffrey, the three worst Lannisters, arguably, as far as their actions, the things.
Well,
that they...
not to mention that by the end of this book, Tyrion will be on his way out.
Tyrion's
yes.
out,
He's gone.
out the country.
And so it's almost that
I
subtle
mean,
reference.
but Joffrey is as well. Joffrey's out even sooner than Tyrion.
Yeah.
And so is Tywin. So he asks Cersei, why has father brought us here? And she says, us? This is your place, brother, your darkness. And Cersei's torch is the only light in the world, which makes me think of Davos.
With the cell.
She turns to
Melisandre.
go, and he begs her not to, but they do anyway. And Jaime asks, at least leave me a sword. And Tywin says, I gave you a sword. And Jaime finds it at his feet and picks it up, which immediately it bursts into a silver blue flame.
Huh. Anything to that? Stannis took Lightbringer. Took the fiery sword.
You think it's Azor Ahai imagery?
Nah, I mean, I feel like that's a very red herring thing of Martin to do.
Because technically, in this case, wouldn't Cersei have been? Well, she had a torch, but is she more the Melisandre figure? The
Yeah.
prophetic...
That's what I was. I'm going to leave you in the darkness, but
So
I don't know.
Perhaps the red herring here is that it's not Jaime's whose sword flickers first, but Brienne's whose lasts longer. Because at the end, hers is the only one.
Right.
And
yeah,
so, yeah, but Jaime picks it up, poised, ready. He's wary of the water and what may dwell within, which immediately makes me think of dead things in the water.
Yeah.
One of the best lines in Dance.
Uh,
But he turns to see Brienne, bound in heavy chains and naked. And she's repeating, I swore an oath stubbornly, as she walks up to him. And Jaime easily cuts the links. And Brienne says, a sword. And she begged him for it, which I think, a sword. She's asking him for a sword. And we just learned that swordplay to Jaime is sex.
Yeah.
And she's begging him for it. Like, give me the sword. I want that D. Hit me with it, Jaime.
Damn.
Yeah.
I didn't have that line in my book.
A sword appears on Brienne, scabbard and all, and he can hardly see her in the darkness, but thinks in this light, she could almost be a beauty. In this light, she could almost be a knight. And then suddenly Brienne's sword burned as well. And then Cersei, which I think it's so interesting that it's Cersei's voice calling out to them, says that the flames will burn so long as you live. When you die, when they die, so must you.
Damn, sucker.
Yeah, is that The Long Night? It's like, because it's very Mel sounding. It sounds like such a Melisandre line of...
Yeah, when the flames die out, so do you, type thing. I don't know, because I really think that it's almost his subconscious. Like, you could even take it as her saying, your light burned out. Brienne's is still burning.
She's still optimistic as far
you
as...
still you can help with her light. Don't let that light fade out.
That's
and that's what sends him back is Cersei. Granted, it's his own subconscious. He's fever dreaming here.
He's fever dreaming
He's
hard, yeah.
projecting his own opinions onto Cersei to tell him...
Well, yeah, because it's almost scornfully, like, his own subconscious is, like, scolding him, like, you should be protecting her, because you were her at one point. Don't you fucking remember when you were like, yeah, I can protect the innocent, I can do the right thing, and then the fucking Mad King was like, yo, suck my dick because your father's a fucking asshole and I'm a fucking crazed Targaryen piece of shit. So like,
right,
yeah, absolutely.
And so I think it's that. It's
shelter this flame.
Yeah,
protect
and so
that
she's got
flame.
that flame there, and her sword.
Jaime
lit.
calls for Cersei to stay, which I think is absolutely what it's meant to be. Of that, he would rather chase that flickering, fickle torch over.
This glowing, bright, shining...
And Cersei, true to form, leaves. Doesn't give a fuck. And Brienne stands tall and strong and seems to Jaime now to have a woman's shape. Brienne asks if they keep a bear down here. A cave lion? Dire wolves? Some bear? She says twice. A bear. Just,
a bear and a bear. And a maiden fair.
And a cave lion and dire wolves, which is interesting. Mormont, Lannister, and Stark. Just Doom.
Throwing that out there.
Doom, only Doom.
Especially since we're, it's funny to think that because we're going to get some Mage and Darcy Mormont in the next chapter with Catelyn.
And Catelyn with the Doom, boom. Doom, boom.
Oh, yeah.
At the wedding itself. They discuss options. Jaime gets hard thinking of Cersei. And when Brienne, he turns away from her to not let her see his rock-hard penis. And when she touches his shoulder, he trembles at a touch.
2 riders there.
And there they are. What up? Side by side. Soundless. It reminds him of Eddard Stark riding the length of Aerys'
That's you, Stark.
That you, Stark. There are more, armored all in snow. And Jaime did not need to see their faces to know them. Oswell Went, John Derry, Lewin Martell, Gerald Hightower, Sir Arthur Dane. And beside them, crowned in mist and grief, Rhaegar Targaryen. So, Bloodraven?
Bloodraven.
The mist is there. Jaime says that he'll fight them all, but Brienne says she's sworn an oath to protect him. And the Shades dismount, drawing their swords, and Jaime explains why he killed Ares, and they all begin to remind him of his duties. The fires on the blades begin to gutter and start to go out, and terror fills him. Only Brienne's sword burns as the ghosts begin to rush in, and he wakes.
Wakey, wakey.
So, we get the guilt of disobeying his vows. He let down all the men he looked up to and respected. Oswald went, even Rhaegar Targaryen to an extent, who kind of gives him the, you were supposed to protect my children, fuck. And he's like, I didn't expect my father, Gregor Clegane, to smash their fucking heads in.
Right, I know.
Like, who would ever
imagine that?
Imagine that of a family member, even someone like Tywin. Understand he's got to do things in war to win a war, but to order 2 infants killed, 2 young toddlers killed, like...
All right, Ned Stark.
Right, like...
Kill the woman and the babe.
No.
That's what Robert says.
You don't.
Yeah, that's bad. That's bad news bears.
It's bad. You don't kill kids.
Don't kill babies.
I just like, what the fuck? But yes, Jaime wakes up. Scary stuff.
Qyburn.
Yeah.
Can we talk about some ghosts?
He it notes that like he fatherly like comes over and he's like, "So Jaime, are you okay? Don't die."
He's sucking that D for some favor.
And then Steelshanks comes over and he's like, "Yo, bitch, you dying?" And Jaime's a little feverish, and Qyburn's like, "Let me get you some dream wine." And Jaime's like, "I've had enough dreams."
My dreams is fucking wicked crazy.
Knowing that if he dreamed, he'd be back in that darkness. And then he noticed that the stump he'd pillowed against is the white of a werewood, and he thinks of Ned Stark and his heart tree. But the stump is dead, and so was Stark and all the others, Rhaegar, Arthur Dayne, the children, and Ares. Ares most of all. Once again, ghosts. We mentioned it last episode with Chloe. That
the werewood stumps.
The way the ghosts haunt people, man.
And
it's
specifically having those stumps.
Those stumps,
there
yep. And the Karns, So, Jaime asks Qyburn if he believes in ghosts. And Qyburn tells a little ghost story where he's like, "Yo, one time, dude, I swear to God.
I'm telling you.
I went in, I was like, 'Yo, what up, demons? It's your boy.'" And like the fucking bed, he could have swore that there was a woman in a chair. He could smell her. He could even like feel the air, like she just had left. There was someone just here, which I also think is such a good, like, what a good choice by Martin to not make it some crazy, over-the-top, exaggerated one.
I took a picture. Do you know what a picture is? And in it, there is this little circle right up in the corner.
Orbs, dude. Have you ever seen orbs,
Let
Jamie?
me tell you about orbs.
So I've got this little device. It's called an EMF detector. But no, it's just choosing such a simple... Everybody's had that feeling of, like, you've walked in and, like, it's just that sort of weird, almost
something
vertigo of, like... Was someone just here? Like, did I just, like, miss someone in that kind of weird timing where their door closed just as mine did? Like, it's that weird, and it's a very relatable thing, and it makes Qyburn's creep factor just...
So, yeah, he says that his thinking wasn't looked too happily upon over at the Citadel.
He's a kook!
But that Marwyn liked his thinking.
Marwyn. I think Qyburn is, unreliable narrating. I think Marwyn would entertain him and be like, yeah, because he actually knows what the fuck's happening. Right. He's that much higher. I think Marwyn is of the opinion that he's a loon.
That Qyburn needs to get the fuck out of here. Expel him from the Citadel right now.
But I think Marwyn is just that guy who I'll listen to everything.
Fool's been shy. You might be like, "Yo, you want to do some Frankenstein shit?"
Yo, watch! I'll summon that bitch right here. Oh, there she is. Yeah, okay. Dude.
I didn't know Marwyn could do that.
Yeah, but maybe he can. I don't know.
I really need to finish reading Fire and Blood.
You need to read Fire and Blood. Jaime declares that they have to go back, Kate. We have to go back, Kate. And he left something at Harrenhal. But Steelshanks is like, no, we're not. We're going to KL. Nah.
We're not going back to the Harrenhal.
We're not going back to the Harrenhal.
We just left there. That would be counterproductive.
And Jaime thinks
Man.
What would Tyrion do?
And then he goes, Steelshanks, you're a real good dude. So it's a real shame that you treated me like absolute dog shit and cut my hand off, bro. And he's like, what?
Wait, what?
Yeah, when you chopped my hand off and stepped on it every day and you spit in my hair.
What he actually says is, Lannisters lie, Steelshanks. Has no one told you that? My song to Tywin can make you very rich or can make you very dead. And at the mention of gold, Steelshanks perks up and Jaime thinks, I have him. Which
is very Tyrion.
I'm pretty sure that Tyrion has thought the exact same line in the exact same context of offering someone more gold than what they're getting, and I got him. By the time the sun was coming up, they were more than halfway back to Harrenhal. They arrive at midday with dark clouds threatening rain. It looks so dead, Jaime thinks. Ooh. Ambiance.
This is the same storm that's about to hit Catelyn.
Brewing. Jaime, Qyburn, and Steelshanks, the fucking posse, start hollering, yo, bitch, open
the door.
Oh, you up there?
Open the door.
And eventually they're admitted. Harrenhal is a ghost town, which, like, ghost.
Harrenhal,
Ghost.
And specifically Harrenhal, because that's where Arya was the ghost of Harrenhal.
And then, eerily enough, to juxtapose that, Jaime begins to hear cheering and laughter. And he immediately understands what that means.
Ah, shit.
Laughter and cheering is so out of place here.
Yeah.
It can only mean something sadistic
especially,
and fucking
with the
depraved.
mummers,
right.
Yeah,
like, it's immediately dread fills him because he's hearing fucking a raucous clamor of cheering and laughing. Like, oh, God, someone's getting tortured brutally. So
he goes to the bear pit.
I need a hero. Gallops through Harrenhal like, I'm holding out for a hero. It's Shrek 2. Yeah, dude. It's fucking Shrek 2.
She's down there battling the bear.
Then we get just such a powerful line. They had her in the bear pit. Like, oh. All right. Jaime's arrival goes unnoticed as everyone is watching the show. No shield, breastplate, or chainmail. Only a pink satin and mirrorish lace dress that was ripped at her left arm, which is dripping.
So now here's
blood.
time for my entertaining my tinfoil. Because he was against the werewood, and there was mist apparent in his dream, and he was in the bottom of the Casterly Rock, so he thought this was more or less a bear pit. Without seeing any of the bears, we just assume Mormonts and lions and Starks. So, was it Bloodraven, the three-eyed raven, saying, she's fucking important. You need to save her. You're going to be... this is important. Go back. And that
I think based on what you were saying about Cersei with the... this is the flame you need to protect.
No, I know. I'm just seeing if...
That absolutely, it could be that Brienne has a part to play in fighting back the Long Night, or in, if it's not that far-reaching, or in Bloodraven's plans, that Brienne is a vital... Yeah, I think she's important. I think she has some...
Well, I think because she's got to be in the north, heading to the north, if she hears about Arya up in the north, being in Winterfell again.
I mean, she's hooked up with Stoneheart and Jaime, and, like... Yeah, there's gonna be something to give. I think Brienne definitely has to reunite with one of the girls for sure.
So yeah, it makes you wonder if Bloodraven actually had anything to do with that fever dream there with Jaime.
Yeah, who knows? This
him.
one I truly do believe could just be a case of subconscious.
I agree. I like that a little more in this instance because it's very much
like the werewood magic is there, and so that's why it's just weird
so
and vivid and fucking intense. But like I don't think maybe there's anything kind of actively showing him this. I think it could just be Jaime's going through some shit. He's changing, but yeah, she has a sword. And it takes a little bit, but Jaime eventually realizes that it's a fucking tourney sword, so it's blunted and
can't cut it's not hurting the bear.
Steelshanks is like, yeah, this doesn't concern us. Lord Bolton said the wench was theirs to do with as they pleased. Her name's Brienne, Jaime says. Ooh. And goes to the Lord's box where Vargo Hoat is sitting. Of course he is.
Get her out of there.
Stay out of this, Kingslayer. She bit off my ear. Which, like, fuck yeah, Brienne.
My girl.
Yeah.
Fucking biting ears off way back when.
Mike Tyson.
Now, is that inspiration for Biter later on?
I think it could
Do
be
you
a
think
little,
that's inspiring him to be like, that's epic. I'll show you.
Right, did Biter, like, see it? Yeah. But, yeah, the bear roars, which draws Jaime's attention back down. He shouts encouragement, but Brienne...
What are you going to dive, duck, dip, dodge, and die?
But then, as Brienne very quickly dodges out of the way, thinks, there's the wench I remember. Like, all right, Jaime.
Now you're immediately wenching her up again.
Yeah, right, wenching her up. But
her
also,
name's Brienne.
like, yeah,
there's the wench.
Yeah. And then,
he comes up with the best plan. He knows that Steelshanks has got to get him to King's
Well,
Landing.
he kind of pit because he's like, I'll pay her ransom, whatever the fuck you want. And he like just starts sort of just throwing shit out to
Tensions
Hope.
get high.
But Hope tells him, you want her. Go and get her. So he did.
Great idea, Hope. That's going to make sure that my man Steelshanks is like, yo, don't let that bear hurt Jaime Lannister.
It says fragile on this package.
Right.
Jaime jumps down into the pit and he's like, what up?
Get behind me. No, just get behind me. It's cool.
Him and
It's
Brienne
cool.
go back and forth for a minute and he reaches down and grabs a jawbone. And he's like, oh, sick.
Nice.
So he ends up having to trip Brienne as she tries to get in front of him and straddles her as the bear charges. Woo. Then the bear is lit up with a whole hail of crossbow bolts and dies pretty gloriously, the poor guy. Poor bear didn't deserve it either, man.
For some reason, I think I like to picture the bear in a dress also, not just Brienne.
Sure.
And, like, I feel like the bear wants to wear a dress, too.
The bear can wear a dress.
Word.
So, yeah, Steelshanks is having enough of it. He says he'll do the exact same to Hope if there's trouble. And he says that we're taking the wench with us.
They have the numbers game.
Yeah, they're all drunk anyway, and they were just chilling, like, you know.
Brah, you come and kill our vibe.
Right. Like,
Bitch, don't kill my vibe.
Yeah, which, this is your vibe. All right.
Right.
So, yeah, Steelshanks is like, we're done with this, and we're taking the wench. And Jaime says her name is Brienne, the Maid of Tarth. You are still a maiden, I hope.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Up. I only rescue maidens. Jaime says that he'll pay both his and Brienne's ransom to Hope. And Rorge tells Hope, fuck that, kill them. Kill them or you'll wish you had. And Hope lets them go. Because fuck Rorge. And half a league from Harrenhal, Steelshanks loses it on Jaime. And he's like, that was fucking stupid. You better make sure you tell your father the good shit. And then rides off. And Brienne's like, Lord Jaime, like, I'm grateful. But why? Like, you were away. You were done. You were clear.
A dozen quips, each crueler than the last, ran through his mind. Because I dreamed of you.
Bam. Jaime's a simple guy.
I just flooded my basement.
I flood my basement.
I wish he would dream of me sometimes.
Jaime's just a simple guy, man. He's just a simple dude.
Just a simple guy.
You put a little dream in his head. Brienne is sexy as shit, and he's realizing it. That, you know, it's not all about physical features. And honestly, I don't think, like, Brienne is half as ugly as, like, people are making it out to be. Like,
yeah, it's a very cruel medieval time where if anybody is,
even, like, slightly
woman,
disproportional
right,
or not fitting of, like, the stereotype that they're meant to be in these dainty maids.
Right. Look how cruel they were to Tyrion, he's just a dwarf.
Yeah, right,
like,
right.
That's not that crazy.
That's not
he's not
ridiculous.
A demon monkey.
Yeah.
It's
true.
Just,
yeah.
He's just a people.
He's just
a people.
He's just small.
He's just a people.
Like,
and so to be, Brienne's almost the opposite of him, where it's this bigger, but like, damn, this world is harsh as fuck.
Yeah.
Granted, she does probably have a bit of that beauty taken away when she gets her
oh yeah, that's
spin
not to
off.
say that, like, you know, she's I'm not saying that like
No,
she's the hottest thing at the fucking ball.
Right,
but
like, she's not this disgusting,
She's
gross,
nearly as
vile
gross
being
or unattractive as people make it out to be. But that's just, neither here nor there, I guess. So we're going to convene our small council and get you guys some inductees.
We have a lot of them. That was the first time that Jaime understood. It was not his skill with sword and lance that had won him his white cloak, nor any feats of valor he'd performed against the Kingswood Brotherhood. Ares had chosen him to spite his father, to rob Lord Tywin of his heir.
Bum, bum, ba-da-bow.
I really like how much we see the resentment towards
Jaime got a shit deal. And then he gave another kid a shit deal. Like, let's pass it on. Pass on the generational trauma. Generational trauma. You got an inductee?
I do.
6?
It is going to be Steelshanks Walton.
Steelshanks.
Like I said before, I believe that he's very much so the Jaime equivalent to Tyrion's Jacelyn Bywater.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's very much, I think he's a bit more blunt than Jacelyn. He's a little less, he's more I was out in the battle and just kind of worked my way up just for doing the job as opposed to being good at the job.
Yeah.
But he's very, like, we're going the wrong way. Like, no, we don't need to go back, but we're back. And so, like, how about y'all just shut the fuck up, realize that there's, like, 400 of us and, like, 30 of you guys. Like, shut the fuck up and get her out.
The wedge.
You're not gonna? All right, then we killed your bear.
Good.
We killed your fucking bear. What do you can't?
Blah.
Yeah.
And Steelshanks go. Brr.
And we're gonna right exactly. And so yeah, I think that he's a pretty honor-driven dude. Not that he's a good guy, by any means, but
who the fuck is in this book?
There you go. So Steelshanks Walton.
Cool. Yeah. My inductee is going to Pia because I would like to keep her safe from being stuck there with the bloody mummers. So pour one out for Pia because she's gonna be going through it real soon, real bad.
You're breaking my heart, man.
So we got some inductees from you listeners, and I will start here with Kristen's.
Yeah, okay.
Who had lots of fun parallels to point out. The very big parallel between Bran and Jaime, opening their eyes in that parallel. Arya, it's about the what she's worth to her family, and Tyrion, lots of Tyrion-esque moments. My lack of a hand bothers me, and other moments that Tyrion would probably be proud of with Jaime. But Kristen wants to induct Steelshanks Walton here. He is caught between Roose Bolton's wrath if he fails to deliver Jaime, and Tywin Lannister's wrath if Jaime decides not to tell the truth. And I do not envy that, and I'd like to welcome him into our safe space of the Brotherhood. So that's 2 for Steelshanks. So Steelshanks is getting double time.
Nice.
To spend some time here in the Brotherhood.
Great inductee, Kristen.
Relax.
Just spectacular.
All right, Nate. All right. You gonna read one or you?
Yeah, I'm just trying to find the inductee in this one, but I guess it's basically so. This one's gonna come to us from Erica. Thank you, Erica, for writing in, and she's pretty excited to hear about the breakdown that we did about the dreams, but essentially she's here to just swoon about Jaime, and so there's a lot of...
Oh, yeah, she does say she inducts Jaime in there.
Yeah, because there it is. I love this so much that I simply couldn't induct anyone else but Jaime this week. So this is the point where he became one of her favorite characters in the series, talking top 3 here, and the chapter gives us a chance to see how far we've come with Jaime as a character. Here he becomes that chivalrous true knight ideal girls like Brienne and Sansa used to dream about. And this is the last thing we would have thought of him when we met him back in Game of Thrones. He's still fucking his sister for sure, and is a shitty person in a few ways, but it cannot be ignored that he's capable of something like this. It's so awesome how George can spin his characters, and what makes this even more awesome is that he does this big gallant thing for Brienne when he's crippled, when he's not really in his usual competent element, so that's double cool. Sorry for the ramblings. I just love Jaime. That's all I wanted to say. Cheers, guys, and see you on the next one. Thank you, Erica.
Thanks, Erica.
Wonderful. We love swooning with you
Jamie
over some
can come
Jaime.
in, like-
Wasn't there an episode a long time ago where you were wanting Jaime's sword or something?
I mean, I'm always begging for a sword.
Word. And
Me
I
and
mean,
Brienne,
as we learned this chapter, swordplay equals sex.
I mean, like, come on. Do I need to say it any clearer? We also got an inductee from Amanda Crane. She says this chapter is amazing. Can't wait to see what you guys think. My inductee is Brienne. She's one of my favorites for so many reasons that I do not have time to list. LOL. And then just some musical emojis with the bear and the maiden fair. Mwah! Chef's kiss. So, thanks, Amanda.
Thanks,
Brienne.
Amanda. I have to agree, because it's funny, my first read-through, Brienne kind of annoyed me.
Sure.
My second read-through and the rest since then, she's in my top 3. I adore everything about her.
Yeah.
Everything she does, everything she is. It's
Brienne
just...
didn't ever annoy me. I wasn't sure where we were getting at with her. Like, because she was on this seemingly impossible search that I knew she was looking in the wrong places the whole time. And so it was just kind of like a where, what, where, why. But now, obviously...
Yeah,
I can chill the fuck out.
I don't know what wall I was smashing my face into when I was first reading it to make me
well,
have
you're
issues
reading
with
for
her,
plot.
but...
You're reading to see what happens in the big overall. You know, it's a little. Your first read throughs are much different than when you're rereading for different details and to watch things.
Sure.
But thank you so much, Amanda.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're good. So, was that 3? That's 3?
That was 3.
One more. We have one more this episode from Karen. Thank you for writing in, Karen. Karen, her inductee, I should be more prepared for this shit. Her inductee this week is the weirwood stump that made Jaime realize he had to go back for her. There's a little nesting spot. So, she also mentioned some other things in her email here. Just some of the red wedding foreshadowing and, you know, you got anything... you like to pull out from there?
I like that at the beginning it starts with Qyburn. Always like to check in with that crazy loon. But yeah, no, thanks, Karen. Great inductee.
The weirwood stump is
the stumps, man. They're in Arya 8. They're in this Jaime chapter.
It's good to get them in here just because of how prevalent they've been in every single chapter, and so I like that you're cementing it in just to keep it fresh in the mind, because I really want to kind of draw focus towards that as we're moving forward closer and closer to the Red Wedding.
We're getting there.
Thank you, Karen, for writing in.
Thanks, Karen.
And we appreciate everyone who wrote in this week, this month, when you got us your inductees. We appreciate it.
We've had some for a while. Some of you got yours in just recently, and we appreciate all of it.
We're glad you all got them in. And if you would like to write in, you can do so through our email, withoutmannersbrotherhood@gmail.com. That's where everybody writes in. You can reach us on all the different social medias. I'm on Twitter @mannerswithout. You're over there. What are you?
CarStark92.
That's that guy. We're also on Facebook, facebook.com/Brotherhood Podcast, and we have a website.
Webby web page.
It's, it's simple. It's there it serves its purpose, but it does have a contact us button, so feel free to use that if you want to write in there. You can just go to brotherhoodwithout.com. There's other places, right, that we're reachable. What else? Do you want to do a plug here?
For what?
Anything,
Spotify.
All right, good one. Search Brotherhood Without Manners on Spotify. You can also check us out on patreon.com/withoutmanners. We are, as we mentioned, prepared to be laying out regular content on a schedule, including Patreon episodes. So we have lots of content coming your way. Get ready.
We back in this bitch.
Leave us a review, a podcast review on the various podcast reviewing platforms. You can go to ratethispodcast.com/brotherhood, and it will actually just pull up a thing that lets you click on the best site for you to leave a review on. So feel free. We appreciate it.
Next episode, we're reading Catelyn 5, which means that Cat has 3 chapters left, y'all.
Damn.
Till the old...
Yeah, and George is just getting fucking just loose with his foreshadowing of this terrible, terrible moment.
Loose and
lives.
floppy.
And so,
join us for Catelyn. Send us your inductees for Catelyn 5. A lot of you already did, and we have those. We thank you. Those of you who haven't, you can do that. And then after that is Samwell 3.
Sam! It's been a minute.
Inductees for Cat 5, Samwell 3, and we will catch you on the flippity flop.
Valor de Harris?
Peace!